I work at a childcare center here in Edmonton, and recently they showed an interest in some of the books I had from when I was younger. They offered me $10 for a giant box of 50 children's books, and I happily sold it to them. The sale allowed the center to meet their licensing needs because they really needed some new books to replace all the wrecked ones, so that was their benefit in this. The other benefit was for the children who have new books to read. This is an example of a positive externality, which is when an action generates benefits for bystanders. In this case, the bystanders are the children because they did not contribute directly to the transaction and they still reaped the benefits. The center is not the bystander because they were directly involved in the transaction. They are the ones who spent the money and they are the ones that got the books. The benefit generated for the bystanders, the kids, is the amusement and the learning that they received from these exciting new books. This all sounds perfect, right? So how could there be a problem or inefficiency with this situation? Well, the kids really liked the books I donated. They really did. And they were wondering when I would be producing more. The reality is that I didn't have any more books that I'd be willing to sell so cheaply. The rest of my bookshelf has sentimental value to me and my family. I would only be willing to sell them at a much higher price, and I know the daycare is not willing to pay that price. As a result, the kids would not get the books that they ideally would have liked. So I'm not producing as much as the bystanders need, which is called underproduction. Underproduction is the fundamental flaw to positive externalities. Let's graph this out. So here we can see the equilibrium price for my book sale. The price is $10 and the quantity is 50 books. But the children want more books, so the kids decided that the quantity they would ideally like is 100 books. They said that with 100 books, they would learn so much more and have so much more fun at daycare. This quantity that the children decided is what we will call the socially optimal quantity, which is the amount that any idealist reality would have. By measuring the distance between the optimal quantity and the quantity achieved at the equilibrium price, you can find the amount that is underproduced. In other words, you can find how much more you need to produce to achieve the socially optimal quantity. If we plug this quantity into our graph, we will notice that it lands on the supply curve, far away from the equilibrium price. You could actually measure the external benefit by finding the gap between the socially optimal quantity on the supply curve versus the demand curve. Note, however, that this is not the gap between the equilibrium price and the optimal quantity. This is a common mistake, so avoid it. There are two main ways that this externality problem can be solved: bargaining and government intervention. To bargain with me, the kids could offer to help me with the cleaning or even promise to eat all of their broccoli if I could keep selling my books to the center. This would be called a side payment, which is a form of bargaining. If bargaining doesn't work with me, though, the kids have to rely on some kind of government intervention, like a corrective subsidy. In the case of a corrective subsidy, the childcare center would receive an extra sum of money, and that would shift the equilibrium price to the socially optimal quantity. Then the daycare would be able to afford my price and buy the books. So that is a brief summary on what positive externalities are, how they can lead to underproduction, and what measures can be applied to solve positive externality problems. All of this information is found in pages 247 to 255 in your textbook. I hope this video was really helpful for you.